Welcome, everyone. This is the fourth of our child care town halls. So we've done it in South San Francisco, we've done it in San Mateo and East Palo Alto, and finally here in Half Moon Bay.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here. I am Supervisor Lisa Gaucher. I represent District 4. So the southernmost end of San Mateo County, that is my district, but I care about all of us. We're all one county, so the issues that we face impact us all. As you've heard, I'm a grandmother. If you were here early, you would have seen me carrying in my grandson who had fallen asleep and trying to carry his bag and my bag and everything. So I know how important childcare is to all of us. Again, Camden is almost 5. I've seen my daughter, what she has gone through to try to make sure that she had daycare provided. And it is a barrier to participating in the economic innovation economy if we don't have adequate childcare. I don't have to tell you, you're here, you understand the issues and the needs, but I am so grateful for my colleague, for you've been leading this work for a long time. Thank you for inviting me along with you, because as a grandmother, yes, I know that this work is important. Again, thank you for showing up tonight. We are looking forward to hearing from you. We're gonna leave time so that we can hear what the needs are. I do understand there's already been a study that's gonna be shared with us on childcare for the coast, which is pretty amazing that somebody has done a lot of the heavy lifting for us. But we want to hear from families and from caregivers and from community members on what's important to you. I'm going to pause there because, again, it's important that I hear from you. But before I go, I want to just thank Mayor Brownstone. Is he there? There you are. You're moving around on me. I want to thank the City of Half Moon Bay for all your support, including the library as a host. This is a beautiful building, and I know what libraries mean to our communities. Really, oftentimes, they're the rec centers for us. They're providing meals, they're providing daycare. I saw the blood pressure cuff that you can get from the library, so they're thinking about our health. There's so much going on at our libraries, and we thank them for that. And I also want to thank Coastside Hope for providing childcare, because my grandson otherwise would be sitting on my lap. He is next door getting all the attention from those daycare providers. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague to hear more, and then we'll continue on with our program.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So we have a workforce crisis in San Mateo County that starts in the crib. And all you have to do is see that we have the 5th highest cost childcare in the country based on the Wall Street Journal. We're the richest county in California and the 4th richest in the country, and yet childcare is costing $3,000 a month. It is now equal to, in many cases, what mortgages are or rents are. And so we've got to do something about it. We've done a lot of research. You can find a study that we've done on childcare, both through the Jackie Spear Foundation, and it's also on our website. It goes into great details about what we can do. And we're in the process now of doing just that. But, and we'll have more to say about all of that in the new year. But part of what has to happen is that we've got to reduce the cost of childcare. And if we reduce the cost of childcare, we're going to reduce the cost of living in San Mateo County. So they go really hand in hand. One of the ideas that we're considering is something called TriShare. If we can enlist companies in the county to participate, where they would pay 1/3, the county would pay 1/3, and then the employee would pay 1/3, that would shave 2/3 of the cost of childcare for families in San Mateo County. Think about how that would reduce the cost of living for people in the county. We have about something like 7,000 children in subsidized childcare. Is that the right number? Or is it 3,000? It's one of those two numbers. I can't keep all of these in my head. But there's a need for 33,000 subsidized childcare slots. So we're out of the whack on so many levels. And so we've got childcare providers, family daycare homes. 1/4 of them have left since COVID. And those that are still struggling, and they are struggling, they have actually slots that are going unused. So we've got to find a way to match those childcare slots with families in their zip codes so that they can, in fact, access the childcare. And we're going to do that through a portal. County is going to put up a portal that's going to match all of that information. So you're going to be able to put your zip code in, find out how many childcare providers you have in your area, how many are family daycare homes, how many are childcare centers, what the cost is, how many vacancies they have, do they take subsidized childcare. It's going to be a one-stop shop for childcare in San Mateo County. So getting the information out to families will be a key component. But beyond that, we want to make sure that we can reduce the cost of childcare as well, because it's just too damn expensive. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lisa.
Thank you so much. So can we change the slide? No, we're at the Mentimeter. Before we go, we're going to have a microphone in the middle. Are we going to move the microphone? Okay, so we're going to move the mic after we finish with Mentimeter. If you have your phone, please take your phone out. We're going to use Mentimeter. Please scan the code on this document to get to Mentimeter, and then we have a few questions. And then you're going to type in the code that's at the top. So the code is 93076074. Please let me know when you're ready.
We're getting lots of thumbs up.
Do you need a little more time? Anybody need help? You do? Try again. Okay.
Yeah, 16 people.
Okay. Yeah. So are you in? Are you seeing the screen? What screen are you seeing?
That one.
Okay, so you're seeing that, then you're in.
Yes.
So it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't ask for the code.
So the QR code just took you in? Okay.
Yeah. Or if you go
Then
to
I-
menti.com.
Okay. So I added a step for you that didn't exist. So you passed the test. Okay. Okay. All right, let's go to the first question. Are we all ready? And the first question is, in what role are you here tonight? Are you here as a parent or guardian, child care provider, community member, or something else? We have child care providers that are in the lead, if this is a race.
They're always in the lead.
Yeah. Community members, others, parents. We have a couple of parents. Other, more parents. I know it's hard to be a parent and to be at a meeting. That's why we have dinner in the back. If you're a parent and you're here, please have dinner. All right. So it looks like we have more child care providers, but we're looking forward to hearing from you and what the needs are. All right, moving on to the next question. In one word, how would you describe your experience with child care? Enter one word. How would you describe your experience? Challenging. Amazing. Okay. Expensive. We always see a theme eventually. Expensive. All right, frustrating. It's like a Tetris. I'd like to know more. Okay. Right. Well, that's good. Expensive always comes up at the top. Moving on to the third question. What type of child care do you use? Home-based, facility or center-based, family or relative, both or a combination?
How can we have 6 center-based with only 4 parents?
Right. Do we have everyone? I understand that as well. And the last 2 questions. How much are you paying for child care per month if your child is under 2 and if they are over 2? Jeez. This describes our problem, right? How are you paying for everything else in childcare? There are so many families that have to leave the workforce because if you have more than one child and you're paying $2,000 to $3,000 or even $4,000 a month, how does that work? Thank you for participating in this exercise. Would you like to add anything to the Mentimeter exercise? Okay. Now's the time for us to hear from you. And we're eager to hear from you, your experience, anything that you want to share with us. This is our time to listen.
My child is old enough now. She's actually right here on the other side. But I don't have as many childcare issues. She's actually self-sufficient. She's 9 years old. But I remember when I was a younger mother that childcare was a big issue, and I was also on the board of CCT, the Coastside Children Center. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for the Board of Supervisors to support centers like that because they have subsidized childcare for a lot of the mothers or parents that can't afford a full-time, daycare provider that's at full price. So I really think that's an opportunity. I'm not on their board anymore, so I don't know the status of support right now, but I just think that's an opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that.
My name is Tracy. I live in El Granada.
Got it.
I'm
Let's go put that a little closer.
Okay, there we go. My name is Tracy, and I live in El Granada. This is Rhiannon, like the Fleetwood Mac song.
Oh.
And she's 3, and we can't afford to pay for more childcare than what we absolutely need.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the one who said Tetris.
Okay.
Because my husband works part-time, about 20 to 24 hours a week. I work full-time. We both commute to San Francisco. My husband also works on weekends, and he volunteers at the high school here as a football coach, which is where he's at right now. So we have childcare through Coastside Nature Program at Quarry Park in El Granada, 2 half-days a week. So we pay for early care as well to drop her off at 8 a.m., which is the earliest that they'll take her, which then makes me late for work. So I have to also pay a babysitter to come to my house at 7:30 to take her to school for me.
Oh.
And then my husband picks her up from school when he gets done with work. He's hanging out with her for a little while, then he takes her to his mom's so he can go to football practice. Then I pick her up from his mom's, and then we meet at home.
Wow.
So, but we've been able to keep our costs low, but clearly stress is high. We have another baby coming in May, so
Congratulations.
we'll have to figure that out when it comes. She and I stayed home for a year after she was born, and then I was able to convince my employer to let me work remotely for about a year and a half, but now I'm back to commuting full time.
Wow.
But
Wow.
that's our story.
Thank you for sharing. Wow.
I'm Alexis. I'm the director at Holy Family Children's Center. I'm coming from a whole nother standpoint. So I've been director going in my 2nd year, and I had to drop the age range to 2 years old. We're licensed 2 to 6. And when I took the job, I realized that there's not enough childcare. And I would drop it even more if I could, but licensing, you need to get a license for younger. And so our space isn't adequate at this time. And so I pulled the community to see the needs, and as she just said, the community offers 8 o'clock, right? And so I started opening at 7, and so I want to let you know that.
Thank you.
And I realized that childcare is expensive, and so I didn't raise the prices this past year. I'm the one that says it's broken because, unfortunately, I have employees I have to pay, and we do live in San Mateo County, and it's expensive. And so where my standpoint is I don't have a lot of employees. We're only licensed for 34 children. But the issue is they have to have a living wage too. And so my highest price point for 5 days a week from 7 to 5:45 is $19.50. And that's from 2 years old to 6 years old. And I work for the diocese, and we're Holy Family Children's Center, and I want to keep it reasonable, but I also have to pay a livable wage. And so, you know, I think that's where the brokenness comes in, because we are quality. It's just, how do you stay quality, have teachers that want to work for you, but also have the care and be able to keep it affordable for children and families. And, you know, I only have a certain amount of spaces. And so I offer half days, full days, 3 days, 2 days. I try to make it as flexible as possible because I see the need on this coast. But it's so hard to have workers and families and meet the whole of everybody.
So do you have slots that are open right now?
I do, because transitional kindergarten has really impacted us. And so I do have a few slots. It just doesn't work with, you know, a family's need, because I have families that need Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, families that need Monday, Tuesday, Friday. And so I'm super flexible in accepting whoever's need that needs it. Whereas prior to me coming on, the director was like, no, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday. But for me, I want to be able to give back as much as I can and take who I need, you know, who needs what when. And so if you need an afternoon, I'll take you in the afternoon, not because I want your money, but because I want to be able to help you. And that's really the passion that I have and what my teachers have. There's only 4 of us. And that's to keep the prices as low as possible for families, but also to be able to pay them a livable wage.
So if you were going to take children that were 0 to 2,
Yes.
what would you have to change in your facility?
We would have to get the license to have 0 to 2, and that means it's a whole different setup, right? But I'm in a 110-year-old farmhouse. It is very unique. I would love for you to come see it. You would be like, whoa. We're on 3.4 acres, but it's wetlands in some areas, so you can't build on it. And so those are all avenues we're looking into. The church is even looking into moving their chapel into a different area so we can expand and take in more children, because they understand the need as well. But with Picasso closing, I have parents calling all the time, and I'm like, there's going to be an influx of people that need space. And so what's going to happen? So that's the brokenness that I'm feeling.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to sit down now.
Hi, I'm Rita Mancera, and I live in Pescadero. And first, I wanted to tell you, when I had actually my little son, it was really tough to have childcare. And at many points in our journey, I felt that I was working pretty much to pay for his childcare. He turned 18 now, so there's no childcare. Yes, exactly. But in my role of working with the South Coast community, some of the things we're facing is that it's really hard to hire teachers, even when we offer competitive salaries, because we know that teachers sometimes are underpaid, and so we're trying to do that, and even offering those good salaries is really hard. Obviously, for our community, just the distance and the remote location is part of the challenges. Running the center that we run, it costs per child pretty much as college education, actually. College tuition, pretty much, yeah. And the needs that I see in the community is like childcare every day. It's on Monday for sure through Friday, and for some of the people that work in agriculture, all the way through Saturday. And also, many of the people start working really early, 7 a.m., and work until late, especially in the summer, because it's more of a seasonal work that goes with the daylight. And then there's challenges about opening other centers. There's limited infrastructure, and the people that want to do some of that care in their homes, they need approval from their landlords. Generally, people live in very small spaces.
You don't need approval from your landlord. That's a state law.
Oh, okay. But these spaces are so small that there's not like something that potentially will be even approved. And then the childcare center. So currently, we operate the only childcare center in the region. We operate it as a co-op. We're licensing it now just to have some revenue, because it's also very costly to fund it. There's not a lot of grant money to do it. But something that is a concern of mine right now is that the lease that we lease from the school district, and it is a temporary lease. And so we have made a big investment on renovating that space with the support of some of the philanthropy. But it's a space that also is going to depend on being able to renew that lease up in 2030, I think. So, yeah, that's kind of what I see in the community.
And are you using bottled water then?
Say that again, sorry?
Bottled water?
For the childcare? No, our childcare center is on the school property. That's where our offices are.
Okay.
And
So
it is connected to CSA 11. And so, yeah, no, that's not a problem.
Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mika. I'm a parent. I have, yeah, well, I took some time off of work to come here tonight. This is like something I think about, and I stay up at night not being able to sleep because of childcare costs. So this is something I really wanted to come and speak on. I have a 3-year-old and an almost 1-year-old. So I love parenthood. I love my kids. I'm in the thick of it, and I say that because of the childcare costs. The hardest part about parenthood is the cost for childcare that I've come to find. And I put impossible because it doesn't make sense. Like, the amount doesn't make sense. The qualifications for subsidies doesn't make sense. And then what further doesn't make sense is that daycare providers, childcare centers, and people who have in-home daycares feel that they need to lower their costs or stretch their workers thin or do whatever it takes to accommodate families, and that's not fair to them. Childcare providers and teachers should be paid a lot more than they're getting now, and it shouldn't have to depend on what families can afford, because that just doesn't make any sense based on what we're being paid and what we're living on to pay our bills. So I think that's just really unfair, and I think it's really awesome that they're trying to help. I think that's one of the only ways that we can get through. But I have made every single call to every in-home daycare, every facility that's out here on the coast. I've even called San Mateo, South City, trying to figure out my options. I've applied for every subsidy possible, 4Cs, any subsidy that's offered with CCP or anything else. They've sent me the qualification forms, and it doesn't make sense because for a 4-person household, you have to be making less than it's around 8,500 before taxes, right? So, yeah, per month. You have to be making less than that. So, right, it doesn't make any sense. So, because if you're making that, let's say you're making 9,000 before taxes, maybe we're taking 6,000 home, and then childcare costs for 2 kids is almost, $4,000. So that doesn't make any sense, right? That literally the numbers are not numbering. Like, if we're bringing 7,000 home and I have to pay 4,000 for childcare, that leaves me $3,000 to pay my rent, feed my children, have a car that I have to pay my car note to, and everything else. So literally it doesn't make sense. So we're struggling financially. And I mean, that's not me, that's every parent out here that doesn't qualify for subsidies. And it's weird that there's no middle ground. Like, it's either you qualify and you pay zero, or you don't qualify and you pay full. I thought that was so weird that there's not like you can put out how much you make and how much you're putting out, and then from there there'd be like a calculation, you would think. So I think that idea, I forget what it's like, the try. Yeah, that sounds like at least some sort of
Now, where do you work?
relief. I work for San Mateo County. I work for CFS, Child Protective Services, and I conduct visits for families that have open cases. So I work hand in hand with families every single day that are also running into all of these issues, and with underserved communities that I can't imagine how hard it must be for them without the resources and things that I, have access to just through what I do for work. So it's just not accessible. Also, I think it'd be great if this was, like things like this were broadcasted a little bit more. I think I found out about this on the Coastside Families app. So if you can afford to be on the Coastside Families app, it's like $50 a year, but some people can't even afford that, which just kind of gives you information about what's going on here on the coastside, like daycares and all of that. Someone posted it on there, which is how I knew, but it's not like posted here at the library, anything, which is where most families are. If it was posted somewhere, maybe more people, would show up that are dealing with this and can give you more information. But you've done so much research on this, and all of the answers are you can't have any more kids, and I want more kids, and I literally cannot afford it. And I think that's really sad. I think this ties into a bigger issue with this generation. We can't afford homes. We can't afford to have more kids. Like, it's really sad, and the people don't know where to go, and it's really like there's no answers almost.
I'm going to keep you in San Mateo County, because your experience is what's driving families out of San Mateo County,
Yeah.
why our birth rate has declined.
Plummeted.
And, you are the poster family
Yeah.
for what we need to address. And I've got an idea on how we're going to be able to help you, because I think as part of TriShare, we get the county involved in it.
Right.
She's a county employee.
Yes.
And they offer help for county employees, which
Well,
is
there is a county child care
There
center, but
is.
it's in Redwood City.
It's in Redwood City, but even though that exists, I trust me, I called, I applied, I toured, everything. They cost almost $3,500 per kid, and I think county employees get 15% off that. That's not a lot. That's about $500. So it's still $3,000 per child that I'd have to take still, drive to Redwood City. So that doesn't make any sense. If I had 2 kids at $6,000, we're not doing that. So it's really not a deal, and I plan to talk to, I've made a meeting with Ray, like we've talked, I've chewed his ear off about this. I plan on talking to my director. It doesn't make sense, and it's not okay for our generation to really have to halt their entire life because of costs. And I don't want to quit my job. I love my job. It almost doesn't make sense to work for me, honestly. Like, I pretty much use my paycheck to pay for childcare. I have my kid in CCP, my toddler, and then I have my baby in an in-home daycare. And I pretty much work to pay for that. And it's because I love what I do. I love my job. I don't want that career gap, right? People are like, well, you can just quit, raise your kid, and that's not, women shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to quit our jobs and give up all of that experience and time, and then just to have to go back into it and struggle doing that for a lower pay down the line. Childcare cost is just one thing, but it trickles into so many other issues for our generation, and then especially women. So
So if you don't mind us asking,
yeah, of course.
you're paying how much for each of your children?
So just around $2,000 for each child.
So it's 4,000.
It's 4,000. I was the one 4,000 per person. It's too much, and we literally can't afford it and afford our rent, everything else. It doesn't make sense. Like taking loans out to live right now, and that's it. If I want to have kids, that's a sacrifice we have to make right now. And I want more kids, but we're obviously have to wait. The climate and the financial pressures are literally telling me, stop having kids. You have to wait until your daughter goes into, school. And then maybe you can, once you're a little older, right, hopefully you can roll the dice and maybe have more kids. So that's where we're at. It's a big issue, and I appreciate all, like, there are a lot of options out here on the coast. There, of course, could be more, but I appreciate all the people out here that are providing childcare, and they do an amazing job. I grew up in daycare, and they're helping raise our children, you know, and so they deserve so much more. They deserve benefits, they deserve higher pay, all of that. And my mom worked for Head Start for over 20 years. And so I knee deep in all of this. Like, I have a big background in it. I work with it every day, and then I'm currently going through it. So if there's anything that I can, you know, provide as far as insight or help, even if I can't get relief right now while I'm doing it, like if we can just at least help our generation have kids and take care of them and just get through these years. That's all we're asking for. You know, like birth to like 4 or 5, if like we can just get help there, that's like literally all we're asking for.
To all the grandmothers, we don't want to hear our children say, we can't have children.
Isn't that, yeah, and not everyone has grandparents and parents that are able to, you know, live close or help, and that it is what it is, but we rely heavily on childcare, and it's just very important. So I appreciate you guys having this, you know,
Thank you
I
for being
hope
here.
there'll be follow-ups, and we'll continue,
There will be.
yeah, having it, and I love the idea, so hopefully that just like gets up and running, you know, sooner than later, and hopefully just broadcast it more, you know, make sure that the flyers are here at the libraries and at the centers and everything. That way more people can get involved. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here.
Story. What a story. And she's a county employee.
I know.
Okay. Are we going to hear about the study that's been done here on the coast? I saw the results. No?
Do you want to come talk about this, the childcare study, anyone?
Tricia didn't share. I'm Christine Thornton with the community.
Can you come up to the mic?
Oh, well, I'm going to let Tricia come up because she's the researcher.
Okay.
So I'll just introduce Tricia Singleton from Solutionary Advisors, who's been leading the research on this study, and she'll give a brief overview of a few of the high points. The report itself is not quite ready for public consumption, so it's going to be coming out soon, and we'll be sharing it with lots of folks to help make some recommendations that was all driven by the community. So,
Thank you.
share a couple of minutes.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for taking this time. I have, thanks to Silicon Valley Community Foundation, have spent the last maybe 5 to 6 months trying to listen to this community, listening to research that we hear around that what's going on around the country in childcare. We did actually a report for the city of Menlo Park for their childcare. So we started there in San Mateo County and understanding what's going on there, and then we've now looked at the coast side, which is a whole different thing, right? So a lot of childcare places are challenged because of TK, like people have said, and then people are struggling trying to pay for it, but providers are struggling to pay their people. And so we're seeing this really significant challenge that's happening. And then when you get to the coast side, what we're seeing is this, the pieces of what it means to be in a more rural community changes everything. So your transportation, you can't hop on another bus. You don't have the same transportation infrastructure. Like Supervisor Mueller said, the capacity to build here is very difficult. You can't just build your way out of this challenge. What we have found are some amazing bright spots in this community. And those are the places who are serving this community, like Coastside CDC, like Puente, like there are lots of these places that are trying to do it. So we're looking at those as anchors to how to start at the base in the community of what's needed and grow from there. So we have some recommendations that will come out with a little bit more detail, but the research is telling us that continually subsidized infant care and toddler care is just a need across the board, as it is in all of San Mateo County. It's really significant here because you also have people that don't necessarily have the same kind of jobs and the same kind of work. So you need flexible care. You need care that's off hours. So one thing that we haven't talked about yet today is friends and family neighbor care, which is 42% of people here in the Coast Side are utilizing some form of care that is not licensed. It's friends, family, and neighbors, because that's more affordable, right? So centers and some of these other options are, as people have said, very hard to afford. So you don't have to have a big contract for friend, family, neighbor care that you commit to. Now, there are a lot of ways to support those groups to increase that type of care and to also be able to increase sort of care, some networking within the licensed care that are homes. So there are some really phenomenal networks that are here, and they need to connect a little bit better to build that infrastructure of childcare here on both levels, both on a larger level of like centers that serve more children, but then also with care that's the babysitter, the nanny, the neighbor who can take in, the mom who can say, I can take your kid and we can figure that out, but you can also get paid for that if you can't afford care. There's vouchers, there are other ways to do that. Not everyone here knows how to access all of those things that are available to them. So that's just like a little snapshot of some of the things that we've learned, if that's helpful. But it's a really, really dynamic and caring community of people that I have seen that are passionate about caring for their children and their community. So thank you for being here to listen to all of us who do care about this community.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisette Hernandez. On a personal level, the cost of childcare is one of the reasons that my husband and I don't have children. We looked at where we live was decided on based on school districts. We wanted the best. But then when we looked at the cost for infants and toddlers, we decided that currently it was not the time for us to have children. So that's on a personal note. In my profession, I think one of the biggest things that families talk to us about are the voucher programs and how they're set at the state level incomes rather than San Mateo County income levels. And so that feels really like a betrayal to our families to set them for failure. They're already knowing that on the day-to-day they're struggling to live in San Mateo County, and to tell them you make too much money when that is not their reality seems very unfair and a slap in the face. And so if there's a way for the county to either subsidize or meet that gap, that would really help families. I have solutions. So I have thought about, we could tax on a county level cannabis consumption. We could also add a tax to alcohol consumption. Just county-wide, obviously voters would have to approve this, but I do think that would provide large revenue for our county that can go to childcare in a way that would substantially provide more economic opportunities for parents, but especially mothers. I think I just participated in a Women's Commission focus group about the added task that gets added to a mother to figure out childcare. We've heard from about 3 mothers here, no offense to the fathers, but I don't hear them here present worrying about where my child is gonna go to, and that's an additional emotional, mental burden that women face all across the world, but we're feeling it in San Mateo County, that women also make a lot less money than men in this county. And so if there is a way for the county to subsidize.
So here's some good news.
Okay.
And we're just exploring this right now, so it's not a done deal. But we're talking about putting a half-cent sales tax on the November ballot next year. It would generate $120 to $130 million a year for childcare if it passes. But we've got to move very quickly in order to get a bill passed in the legislature that would allow us to go over the 10%, which we could do. And then we would have to move very quickly to be in a position to put it on the ballot. So we're starting that process actually this coming Friday. So we're going to see if we can do it sooner than later.
Oh, awesome.
Well, you're welcome. If we can get the dispensation from the state, it could be citizen. It would only be 50% plus one. And I think it would pass.
Yes. Just to the last speaker, just thank you for your being vulnerable. And I could hear to think that you have to plan the family or your, you know, I just feel for you. Thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable with us.
Yes, Mayor. Going to find a spot in downtown Half Moon Bay for a child care center?
I'm sure we could find one. I'm not sure if this is much of a question as an observation, but thank God for AI, I was able to research something a little bit. So 20 years ago, I was working at Cisco Systems. I was there for about 6 years. And there's a CEO named John Chambers, and he decided, and there's basically no on-site childcare in Silicon Valley at any companies. So he said, well, I want it. And whatever. The bean counters there said, well, the insurance will be too expensive, blah, 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 blah. And he snapped his fingers, like a CEO can do, and he says, no, I want it. And they built a state-of-the-art child care center. Now imagine the joy of a parent during lunch hour being able to go over and see their children. And there were cameras in the room so they could see what was going on. And I was responsible, it's part of my function, to fill out surveys from certain magazines, you know, like the best of this, that. And so is Working Parent, Working Mother, and we weren't on any list of best companies. Then we had the Child Care Center. And I was getting it, all of a sudden we were like top 5, just from the Child Center. So, and the retention for working parents there. Okay, so I'm sitting here now thinking, wow, there must be a lot more of that now since 20 years ago. Wow, it is almost nothing. And each article I read, it mentions 3 or 4 companies, and Cisco's still on the list. And Genentech and Qualtrics. So, you know, it's a mindset. And one of the things I was reading that there are very few incentives and subsidies for companies to do this. San Carlos just recently built, right, its pharma center on the east side. I don't know if that's all finished, but I remember speaking to the council members when it was being built, and I said, well, wait a minute, you can have about 3 or 4 companies here, and you get to choose which ones, and it's right near the train station. Why don't you just require anyone who wants to build their facility here, in the middle, just build a child care center? I didn't get much of a response from their elected officials at that moment, but it just seemed so simple, like why don't we have the mindset? And why don't we advertise more of the companies that do that and give them the awards and, you know, put a spotlight on them as a great place to work. To this day, I still tell everyone I know is new people looking for other companies to work. I said, you know, we're going to become parents. I said, you really should look at Cisco. And there should be that, you know, social pressure and incentive to make that important. I don't know why that doesn't happen and why we can't make at least that happen. and talk about the experiences and the stories of those employees working there, and make it, they're competitive about every other thing in Silicon Valley, so why not make that spotlight the competitive advantage. It's not shaming companies who don't, but it's incentivizing them to, by telling the stories.
So, there's a couple of elements there. One is they get a business deduction for creating a child care center, right? They have better retention rates and they have lower absenteeism. That's what the state of Michigan discovered when they did TriShare, and more companies wanted to join. So, that's part of the incentive. And I think as more and more companies recognize that they're losing employees because it's too expensive here and they can't raise families here, they're going to recognize that they have to do more. But all of us as local leaders can play a bigger role in making sure new developments that go into our communities, to your point, do that. I'm on the Samtrans board. They're moving to a brand new building in Millbrae, and they've got this retail space on the first floor. And at the last board meeting, I said, why don't we put a child care center there? So they're now exploring whether they can. There's a requirement for outdoor space that we've got to somehow work around. But part of it's just making the ask. A lot of electeds here, so I hope you'll recognize that you've got the power.
I had the opportunity to visit Vienna on their social housing field trip. And during that, they couple affordable housing with childcare. When they develop their areas, they make sure that their stores, their childcare, the things that they need are within 15 minutes walking distance from where they live. Not only that, everyone pays the same rent, no matter what your income is. So if you make more money, you can put more money into the economy. I just think we have to start thinking about it differently. I know that in North Fair Oaks, on the Mercy Housing, there's a child care facility that was built in to the affordable housing complex. We need to start thinking about that more. And even on the coast, I'm here thinking, like, what buildings are open during the week? Most churches are only really active on the weekend or on Sundays. Are there churches that you can activate for child care to make sure that we have more spaces as well? Just trying to think a little bit outside of the box as well.
Or there's a lot of schools that are closing.
Come on, talk to the mic.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hi, my name's Gary Kidgel. And, there's a lot of schools that are closing in the Bay Area. I don't know about San Mateo County. I just look at the whole region. And you could utilize some of those depending on what the district or whoever owns those are going to do with them. Another idea I thought of was, you know how, and this is kind of like outside of the box, but you know how we have those co-op kitchens, okay? I know this is childcare, but, so there's different owners that have the kitchens. What if you were to have a facility that had several different, whatever the required square footage is for, say, 30 children with a licensed person there, another licensed person here, because I think really it's a profitability problem. There's no profit in it for these, for someone to make money to have these facilities. So I don't know how, does anything come from the state?
Well, subsidized childcare comes from the state, so
Has it
that's
been
where the
cut?
fund. It's just not enough.
Yeah.
And, families tend to not try to get, extra jobs for fear of losing their child care subsidy.
Yeah.
So,
And I think what I've heard from the audience is that state level income needs to go up a little bit.
or
to
reflect
where
the
you're-
cost of living in different areas.
ma'am.
So the
Yes,
cost of
ma'am.
living in the Central Valley is different than the cost of living here.
Yes, ma'am.
And yet it's the same basis for subsidized child care.
Yeah, but I just thought I mentioned that. It's kind of
Yeah.
something I'm thinking about.
Thank you.
And I know I'd love to hear from home care provider. I'm looking at the home care provider. I always call you out, Haley. Home care providers, if you could just explain what you go through, because you don't always get paid.
Oh, they're changing that, by the way.
Are they changing the reimbursement model?
the bill just passed I just found this out last night, that the bill just passed, or was part of the budget, that is now going to pay family daycare home providers at the beginning of the month instead of at the second half of the next month.
I haven't heard that yet.
But it's in process, so it's going to take some time. But that actually did get put in the budget, so that was good news.
Okay, well, good evening. I didn't plan to speak. I've come to all four town hall meetings, so I want to thank you both for, can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to thank you both for doing this. I am a family childcare educator, Haley Village, San Mateo County. I've been in the childcare space for 40 years, and I will celebrate 20 years next year as a family childcare provider. And what we go through, we wear many hats. And while you hear that childcare is expensive, I'm a parent of 3. I went through that when my children were little. But like the lady that said, I think she left already, is I have 3 staff. I have 2.5 staff. And so the cost of living, I'm a renter. I can't afford to buy. My rent is $4,500 currently. I have had to move 5 times in 20 years. Each time I've moved, my rent has gone up. Each time I've had to move, I'm a large licensed family childcare. So we also have ratios issues. So I'm licensed for 14. I'm allowed to keep 4 infants under the age of 2, 8 over 2, and then child 13 and 14 has to be school age. So we're facing a lot with the mixed delivery system. So losing our 4-year-olds starting 3 years ago. So I generally would have children from 3 months, and they would stay with me till they went to kindergarten. Now with mixed delivery system, we're losing our 4-year-olds. For the first time in almost 20 years, I had 4 children graduate last August. But when they went to the new schools, the school site said, oh, we keep 2-year-olds, we can take your sibling. So I lost 6 children. And for the first time, I didn't have 6 children from August till this past January. I've always had a 2-year wait list. But there's a lot of things that we're going through. We can't change our rent. I have nothing but full pay cost at this point. I do accept subsidy, but if I don't get a subsidized child, or they leave, or I don't get paid, I can't go to my landlord and say, oh, I can't pay my rent because I can't afford the $1,400 or $1,600 a month for a child. Does not pay my rent, my utilities, my childcare, my teachers, and all the expenses that I have. So we've had to go through a lot, and childcare is essential. We have to figure out. I like the idea of the tri-state, what you said, but being from Europe also, we have to look at what other countries are doing, because I'm from England, and I have family that, my best friend, we had our children the same time. She stayed home for the first 2.5 years, full pay, did not have to worry about daycare. She stayed with her children. She went back. Her job was secure. There definitely are ways that we have to look at what other states and other countries are doing to make childcare valued. Like, where are we putting our money? Where are we spending our money? I don't know whether you have specific questions. I just think that you have to look at that. In our county, we've lost about 154 childcare providers since COVID. That's my colleagues, where they've had to close their doors. We're still seeing it where people are struggling to get enrollment, and that connectability. There are children that need programs, and in family childcare, we have 80% of our programs have openings. I feel fortunate right now that I don't, that I am full, and that is to do with marketing. It's to do with my current existing families that I don't advertise anywhere because they advertise for me, and I've been fortunate that way. But I did go through 6 months where I didn't have 6 kids, because everybody that calls, I probably get 7 to 11 phone calls a week for infant care, but I can only keep 4. And that's another thing we have with the mixed delivery system. Because we can only have 4 infants under the age of 2, we're max, if we're going to lose our 4-year-olds, and then it's going to be pre-K for all and 2K for all, because we're losing our 2, 3, and 4-year-olds at this point. You're not going to be able to survive with only 4 children under the age of 2. In other states, when a child turns 1, at 13 months, they can bring in other infants. We can't. We have to wait till we get 2. But in a childcare center, when a child turns 18 months, you can bring in an infant. We can't do that. We have to wait till 2 years old. So it's affecting our ratios. It's affecting, a lot of my colleagues that cannot get those over 2s when you lose them. So there's a lot to be considered, and I congratulate you and thank you for holding these meetings.
Well, thank you for coming to all 4.
Thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else that would like to share? Can you say hello? Oh, you're not going to say much. This is Camden, and I've seen what childcare looks like from the lens. And I'm just grateful that I've had a job where I could help my daughter out, but not everybody has that, and it's really difficult.
The other thing is we're learning that the brain development in an infant doubles in the first year of life. And then by the time they're 3, it's 80% of an adult brain. The cognitive function is kind of set by year 3. What they're finding out now is that childcare is good for these kids in terms of their ability to be successful in life. And we're going to find out through more studies how.
And if you look at other countries, like Japan, Singapore, they really accelerated.
Let's see, throw it. Let's see it.
Come here.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, if there's nothing else, we want to thank you for
Thank you
being
all for
here
coming.
tonight. We appreciate it.
We've got lots to do, and we're going to do it together.